Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time for our quality time interview and opportunity to spend a little extra time with our next guest. And that next guest is Eric Anderson, the head coach of the Ellsworth High School tennis teams. Hey, coach, appreciate your time. And man, a state champion coach. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much.
What was that experience like for you? Well, first of all, like, what was your initial reaction when you did kind of figure out the points and knowing that you guys are on to your way to a state title there at Ellsworth for tennis? So what was that initial reaction like for you?
Yeah, we came in with expectations of winning the state title. My son, who graduated a couple years, played for me, graduated a couple years ago. He was keeping an eye on the points, and all morning long on Saturday, he kept saying, "We got to win this match. We got to win that match." And it was after our number 2 doubles won their match against Central Plains, and then our number 2 singles player kind of slammed the door shut on Conway Springs and beating their singles player to get to the 5th place match. And it was kind of surreal for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Conway Springs, Ellsworth, you guys finished up with 44 points, and Conway Springs had the 36 points. Like, what was it like, especially early on in the meet, just kind of keeping track of that? And obviously, having your son there helped out too.
Yeah, we were keeping an eye on what Conway Springs was doing, whether they were winning or losing matches. At the end of the night, I kind of ignored our doubles teams. They were playing each other in the quarterfinals, and I went over and watched Phillipsburg singles player playing against Conway Springs singles player, because if Conway lost, that eliminated one of their entries. And so I was a little bit more interested in that than watching our own doubles teams play each other.
So I mentioned that initial reaction. Like, who's the first person you reached out to celebrate with? Who'd you see first?
That was my son. He played for me for 4 years. He was the one, like I said, on Saturday morning, keeping me updated on team scores and the idea of it. He was the first one to be right there with me and giving me a hug and saying it's over with. I told him after he already told our girls that we'd won the state title as a team, that I didn't want them to know. But he said, as a player, I would want to know. That way I don't have any pressure going into your last match.
Sure. Like, for you, and you mentioned like the expectations coming into the season, but I remember reading articles of your team like 2 or 3 years ago, and how you had such a young team. So like, I think, I don't know, you can kind of see this coming. Could you see like the talent and the ability of what you guys are able to do coming over the last couple of years?
I did. We started a junior high program, 5 years ago now. Our seniors this year were the first team that we had. They were in 8th grade. I was warning coaches back then when they came to our varsity boys meet. I said, you watch out, because we're going to have some pretty good tennis players coming up on our girls program. Our junior high program is loaded with them. And it came to fruition. Anari and Felice were our first crew, and they were 4-time state qualifiers, stepped into the varsity as freshmen. The next year, Carly, Reagan, Hannah, they stepped in. So we had a really young core of freshmen and sophomores in 2023. And we're still pretty young. I mean, we had 4 of our 6 girls that went to state this year are sophomores and juniors. So
Wow.
It's going to be a little run for a little while. And we have some pretty quality girls that are nipping at their heels and waiting to get on the varsity next year.
You mentioned the junior high program. I feel like that's a trend, especially I think over the last 5 to 10 years across the state, and more programs developing those junior high programs. Like, how important is that, Coach?
Oh, it's huge. I've said it all along. I've coached here for 25 years now, and I wanted junior high tennis when I first started coaching. It took us 20 years to finally get it added. And I told them it's going to pay off, because other schools like Sterling, Smoky Valley, Wichita Collegiate, they all have junior high programs. So their girls come in knowing how to play tennis, knowing how to hold a racket. And when I get girls as freshmen and they're showing up and have no idea, and I have to teach them, it takes 3 or 4 years before we finally get them to that level. And once we added junior high, it's like, hey, this is great. They have 1 or 2 years of experience. We can get them going early, and then we just take off from there.
You mentioned 25 years now at Ellsworth. Like, what was the tennis culture like when you first arrived as a coach?
Ron Davis Sr. was the coach when I first started 25 years ago. He ran over to cross country, or took over the cross country program, and he asked me if I would coach the high school girls team. And Uh, he had a great team the year before they went to state. I was a little nervous trying to fill in his shoes. We fell short that year. A doubles team that he had qualified and medaled the year before didn't qualify at our regional. So I was a little upset, a little nervous. I didn't want to make him, you know, look down on me in any way because we didn't qualify. So I felt some pressure, and I've tried to live up to his expectations from day one, and it's kind of taken off since then.
For you, I mean, especially in those early days as a head coach, like what was that experience like for you and just trying to get better at simply just coaching tennis?
It was a lot of me going to clinics, talking to other coaches, talking to Ron Davis Sr. about what he did and how he would take care of things, because it's a lot different than when I played in high school. You know, I didn't think of the X's and O's back then. I was just out having fun and playing. And even when I played in college, it wasn't a lot of X's and O's. It was, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to play to the best of my ability, and what happens, happens. And then when I get on the other side, it's like, oh man, I really got to think, how am I going to put together a team? Who's going to play singles? Who's going to play doubles? Who plays doubles better together? It's taken quite a few years for that to happen. And it just came from other coaches and visiting with them.
Like, do you feel like you have a pretty good eye for that as far as when you're trying to figure out that team and, okay, who is going to play doubles, who's going to be together, and, who's best, by themselves? Like, what's that process like for you? Like, sometimes when you have the experience, maybe it's a little bit easier when you have girls returning or boys returning. But, like, when you're trying to figure out a new team, what's that like?
I try to take into account their personalities. That's the biggest thing for me. I don't try to put two dominant players together. I always want to have somebody that's a little bit better than the other one. I just always felt when I put two dominant players together that we struggle a little bit because one person wants to take over and then the other one gets mad, and it's always just been, conflicts that way. So we try to put them together so we have one girl that's, pretty decent and one girl that's pretty dominant, and it just goes with it. And it works pretty well for us.
So for you, is there ever a struggle between, trying to figure out if a player is really good at singles or, maybe they're also good at doubles? What's that process trying to figure that out?
I try to take into account what the player wants. Carly Hazy, our singles player, the last 3 years, started off playing doubles for us. She was undefeated, and she came to me after our third meet and said, I really want to try singles. I moved her to singles, and we haven't looked back since then. Her doubles partner at that time, Hannah Vague, we moved in Elena Junt with her, who was playing singles for us, and they went on and finished 11th at state that year in doubles. And then Hannah last year, we moved to singles just out of necessity, thinking that, we'd give it a try, and she's run with it, and she's really liked it. This year, when I asked her if she wanted to play singles or doubles, she said she wanted to play singles, and I think that's a big part of it. It gives the players some buy-in in the program.
For you, any extra motivation this year? Not that you needed it, but finishing as a runner-up last year, then getting that state championship this year, was there any extra motivation?
There was. The girls really felt last year we left some things on the table. Carly lost a match in the the quarterfinals last year. She felt she shouldn't have lost. Same thing for Felice and Elena. So they came back this year motivated. They wanted to be better. They wanted to try to push collegiate to the limit. Collegiate Act got bumped up to 4A this year. So when we saw that, it was like, hey, this is our year, but we still need to take care of ourselves.
Last thing for you, Coach. I know sometimes after you win a championship, I notice some teams, like, they don't want the season to end. So, like, when you have a year like you did this year, how tough is it to put it to bed?
It's pretty tough. When I got out of school on Monday, I felt like I was missing something. I wanted to go over to the tennis courts and just keep going. The good thing is that a lot of our players, as we were coming home on Saturday from Salina, that they were talking about doing things in the off season together. Last year, we didn't have that. I felt like last year it was like, the season's over. We're going to wait a little while, take a few months off. This year was a little bit different story on the trip home. So I'm looking forward to see what they do in the off season, and then getting back in touch with them in the summer when we can do our team workouts.
When's the parade? I'll drive over.
We had the parade on Saturday. We pulled back into town, and we had fire trucks bring us down the main street, and had a whole bunch of people outside waving at us. And
Cool experience for sure. Big thanks to Eric Anderson. Appreciate your time. Head coach of the Ellsworth tennis team. And that'll do it for our quality time interview.